Thank you all for being here. I would like to begin by introducing the Honorable Pamela J. Bondi, Attorney General for the United States of America.
Thanks. Thank you to our great U.S. Attorney here. We also have our DEA Administrator, Terry Cole, our HSI Acting Executive Associate Director, Derek Gordon, FBI Operations Director, who I'm with every day, Chad Yarborough, U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of Florida, Jason Quinones, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons, and Acting Assistant AG Matt Galliotti, who I'm with almost every day as well. We're here to announce a landmark victory for the Department of Justice, our law enforcement partners, and the United States of America. As you've heard, drug kingpin Ishmael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, has confessed to a lifetime of crime in service to the Sinaloa cartel, a foreign terrorist organization. Thanks to the relentless work of our prosecutors and our federal agents, El Mayo will spend the rest of his life behind bars. He will die in a U.S. federal prison where he belongs. His guilty plea brings us one step closer to achieving our goal of elimination of the drug cartels and the transnational criminal organizations throughout this world that are flooding our country with drugs, human traffickers, and homicides. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is on the front lines of this fight. We're standing shoulder to shoulder with all of our law enforcement partners to dismantle these narco-terrorists, and that's exactly what they are. They are narco-terrorists. El Mayo was one of the most prolific and powerful drug traffickers in this world. His partner was El Chapo. They were co-founders of the Sinaloa cartel. They brutally murdered multiple people and flooded our country with drugs. Their reign of terror is over. He will never walk free again. Over the last 3 decades, El Mayo and his accomplices made billions of dollars, hundreds of millions each year they were making by bringing poisonous drugs into our country. No longer. The Sinaloa cartel initially built their businesses with cocaine, but then under El Mayo's leadership, they turned to heroin, they turned to fentanyl. They purchased fentanyl precursor chemicals from China. They made the drug in Mexico and flooded it into our communities, killing our kids. El Mayo also ensured that the Sinaloa cartel operated and protected its drug trafficking business by relying on extreme violence. They used military-grade weapons and directed hitmen to kill their adversaries. They committed gruesome assassinations, kidnappings, and horrible crimes to maintain discipline within their own organization. He ordered the murders of countless individuals and rivals. Many innocent people died as a result of this as well. El Mayo operated with impunity at the highest levels of the Mexican drug trafficking world by paying bribes to government officials, by bribing law enforcement officers. He controlled corrupt officials and officers who protected his workers and his drug shipments that traveled from Mexico into our country. El Mayo's crimes have been so prolific that in the past 2 decades, he's been indicted in no fewer than 16 federal courts across our country. 16. From Western District of Texas to Chicago to here in the Eastern District of New York. He escaped justice for decades, But under President Trump's leadership, he has finally been brought to justice. Today's conviction is the latest success in the United States fight against deadly cartels and transnational criminal organizations. We've made remarkable progress. Just to give you a few examples, under President Trump's direction, the United States State Department designated the Sinaloa cartel, together with 5 other cartels and MS-13 and TDA, as foreign terrorist organizations due to the serious threat that they pose to our national security. As a result, the DOJ has already charged leaders of the Sinaloa cartel with narcoterrorism and charged alleged members with support and supporters of TDA, MS-13, and CJNG, currently one of the most violent cartels in Mexico. They provided material support to a terrorist organization. We are calling these drug kingpins what they are: international narco-terrorists that invade our country, threaten the sovereignty of our borders, and destroy our communities. They are terrorists, and we will prosecute them like they are terrorists. Since President Trump took office, Mexican authorities have expelled more than 50 high-ranking cartel leaders and other dangerous criminals to our country to face prosecution. More than 50. These are historic numbers that ensure that these criminals will face justice and face justice on American soil. We now have leaders from CJNG, Sinaloa, and Los Zetas in custody. Our prosecutors in the Criminal Division and the Northern District of Illinois obtained a guilty plea from Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, and another leader of the Sinaloa cartel, the co-founder. Just a few weeks ago, on August 14th, we announced criminal charges against 5 cartel leaders and high-ranking members of these united cartels. We will not rest until Americans are safe from these narco-terrorists. Thanks to our law enforcement officers, both here and in Mexico, who often put their lives on the line every single day to protect us and to get these violent leaders off the streets. We are not done yet. At President Trump's direction, we will continue to fight until every single cartel boss is behind bars and on American soil and in American prisons for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. As you've heard, a short time ago, Ismael Zambada Garcia, known as El Mayo, pled guilty here in the Eastern District of New York to being the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, the largest drug trafficking organization in the world. Among other things, he admitted to leading a continuing criminal enterprise and to RICO conspiracy charges. This is an historic day. With today's plea, the Sinaloa cartel has been decapitated. Its 2 founders and leaders, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, also known as El Chapo, and now El Mayo, both stand convicted. These defendants built a criminal empire in Sinaloa, Mexico. Their cartel grew like it was a cancer throughout the hemisphere. They flooded the United States with deadly drugs, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and then fentanyl. El Mayo was first indicted in the Eastern District of New York in 2009, and we continued to add charges, including, as the Attorney General mentioned, fentanyl trafficking, right up until this very year. As a result of his conviction, El Mayo faces a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. This conviction is also a testament to the unrelenting determination of the prosecutors and the law enforcement agents who would never stop seeking to bring El Mayo to justice. As our Attorney General has pointed out, The plea marks the conclusion of a decades-long effort by hardworking and dedicated public servants across the United States. I want to thank the prosecution team from the Eastern District of New York, Assistant United States Attorneys Francisco Navarro, Robert Pollack, Adam Amir, Lauren Bowman, and Rebecca Ercolag. In addition to the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida and the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Texas, both of whom are here with us today, I also want to acknowledge the important contributions of the U.S. Attorney's Offices for the Northern District of Illinois, the Southern District of California, and the Central District of California. I would also like to thank our American law enforcement partners at the FBI, Homeland Security, and the DEA, along with numerous other law enforcement agents throughout the government. I would also like to thank our counterparts in the Mexican government. Finally, I gratefully acknowledge the presence here today of Frank Tarantino from the DEA, Ricky Patel from Homeland Security, and Philip Bates from the FBI. I'm now going to ask Acting Assistant Attorney General Matthew Gagliotti to say a few words.
Thank you, United States Attorney Nocella. Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Gagliotti, and I'm the Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division and a former Assistant United States Attorney here in the Eastern District of New York. Today marks another milestone in the Department of Justice's relentless efforts towards the total elimination of cartels. One of the most notorious narco-terrorists of all time, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, was convicted in a United States courtroom, having confessed to more than 3 decades of crime in service to the ruthless Sinaloa cartel. For decades, the Sinaloa cartel, under El Mayo's leadership, made billions of dollars by importing dangerous drugs to the United States, intensifying the drug epidemic in our communities by flooding our streets with cocaine, heroin, and ultimately fentanyl. Today, El Mayo admitted to crimes of a staggering scope, including leading a sprawling criminal enterprise that distributed more than 1.5 million kilograms of cocaine in addition to other drugs. He made corrupt payments to operate with impunity, and he protected Sinaloa's operations by ordering acts of extreme, heinous violence, leaving a trail of human suffering, including innocent victims, in his wake. Pursuant to his guilty plea, El Mayo will spend the rest of his life in prison and owes $15 billion in forfeiture to the United States. Results like this are not possible without the prosecutors and agents who have done an extraordinary job building the case piece by piece and seeing it through to completion. This is another significant result under Attorney General Bondi's leadership in the department's unparalleled drive to eliminate cartels. As part of that effort, we have seen more than 50 high-ranking cartel members expelled to face justice in American courtrooms, collectively one of the greatest takedowns in United States law enforcement history. Other leaders have been charged as foreign terrorist organization leaders, and members have been charged as well. We continue to pursue these individuals to make them see justice in a United States courtroom. As Acting Assistant Attorney General, I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners, and I'll briefly flag in particular trial attorneys Jace Bourne and Kirk Handrich, as well as all of the U.S. Attorney and law enforcement partners with us. The Attorney General has made clear that the department's goal is eradicating the harms caused by cartels in American communities, and the department is quickly making historic progress towards achieving just that. Thank you. It's my honor to introduce DEA Administrator Terry Cole.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Attorney General, thank you for your law enforcement support. Thank you for the care and attention you've given to our police officers every single day. And thank you for your leadership. My name is Terry Cole. I'm the administrator of DEA. I'm a career 1811 criminal investigator with DEA. When I joined this case years ago, we were sometimes told we were chasing shadows, legends of men who believed they were untouchable. One of those men was El Mayo. However, today, as you've heard, he stood in a U.S. courtroom. He said those words that change everything. Guilty. This is just not another plea. It's a collapse of a myth that leaders of cartels are beyond the reach of American justice. Today, we prove once again no one is beyond our reach. I've seen firsthand the families who've lost sons, daughters, brothers, sisters to fentanyl, pushed by Sinaloa and El Mayo. When he admits guilt, it's not just words on a page. It is an acknowledgement of those lives stolen by his empire. This case was built brick by brick across continents. It began in 2020 at a targeting meeting that I attended here in New York. From there, the New York Field Division, the men and women standing to my right from all federal agencies, pursued relentlessly every single member of the Sinaloa cartel, along with our agents in Bogota, along with agents in Madrid, and our partners at HSI in the FBI, and our partners at EDNY and the other federal agencies, prosecutors that we've mentioned. Our agents just did not build a case. They carried the memories of U.S. citizens. Juan Carlos Garcia, who was murdered by the Sinaloa cartel in 2015. Every interview, every wiretap, every sleepless night was for justice. It was for justice for those families who have lost their kids to the Sinaloa cartel. Our global partnerships develop the ultimate blow. We did this by leaning on our powers of partnerships in New York, to Bogota, to Madrid, to Washington. We tore down walls between prosecutors, investigators, and analysts. We didn't care who got credit. The only thing we wanted was the truth. It's the same model we used when we took down Garcia Luna, when we took down Chapo, and as we continue to dismantle RCQ. It's a model of dismantlement of the cartels today. Dismantling cartels, we just didn't go after the drugs. We went after the decision makers, the financiers, the killers who directed violence with a single phone call. This is how we dismantle cartels at the highest level. Global cooperation. DEA is not just an American agency. It's the world's most trusted partner to fight against cartels in synthetic drugs. This case proves what happens when we work together as one. The illicit finance. These complex historical conspiracies are where DEA thrives, following the money, listening to cooperators, and turning intelligence into courtroom-packed truths. Every plea is more than a headline. It's one less pipeline of poison into our neighborhoods. It is one more life saved from a fentanyl overdose. I've stood in too many homes where parents and their children keep memories of those that are lost. Today's guilty plea doesn't bring those kids back, but it sends a message to the cartels, to the world, and to families who still grieve. DEA will not stop. We will hunt the heads of these organizations. We will tear apart their networks, and we will bring them to justice, one member at a time, by the men and women over to my right, the finest career law enforcement investigators in the world. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Attorney General. Administrator Cole, thank you for the remarks. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Derek Gordon. I'm the Acting Executive Associate Director for Homeland Security Investigations. Today marks an historic day in pursuit of justice for the countless victims Zambota's regime of terror created. For over 30 years, he yielded unchecked power at the highest levels of the Mexican drug cartels and the trafficking world, leaving a legacy of corruption, violence, and devastation behind. Indicted 16 times over 2 decades, he continued a criminal enterprise that shamefully peddled death. Together with El Chapo, he transformed the Sinaloa cartel into one of the largest, most violent drug trafficking organizations in the world. Under his control, the cartel became synonymous with public corruption, the generation of billions of dollars from trafficking fentanyl, the unimaginable bloodshed, acts of outright terrorism that devastated communities and countless lives. Today, he stands defenseless because the relentless investigative efforts of HSI, FBI, DEA, and the Department of Justice. His guilty plea is not just a milestone in Americans' fight against the Sinaloa cartel. It's a victory for the victims whose lives were shattered by his ruthless regime. But we are far from finished. HSI special agents working alongside our law enforcement counterparts have dedicated decades to investigating foreign terrorist organizations for the sake of uncovering, disrupting, and ultimately dismantling them until they are completely wiped off the face of the earth by any means necessary. With today's victory, our fight continues with renewed fervency. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Chad Yarborough from the FBI.
Thank you, Derek. Well, good afternoon. My name is Chad Yarborough. I'm the Operations Director for the FBI, and I oversee our cartel efforts. Today's landmark guilty plea of Ismael El Mayo Zambota marks a significant step forward in our ongoing fight against transnational organized crime and the deadly narcotics trade that threatens communities across this country. The guilty plea is not only a win for our communities, but a testament to the FBI's commitment to crush violent crime, to target cartels and gang activity under Attorney General Bondi. I want to take a few minutes to highlight our partners' extensive efforts throughout this investigation. And I can't do that without mentioning our law enforcement partners at DEA and HSI and DOJ, who are working tirelessly together to disrupt and dismantle these violent criminal networks. This case is the result of that close collaboration and years of deliberate efforts by our partners and the FBI, both here and in Mexico. For decades, the Sinaloa cartel has been one of the primary drivers of illegal narcotics flowing into the United States. When this investigation began, our Washington, D.C. field office was able to identify with our partners the cartel's 2 main leaders, Zambota and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. After Guzman's arrest in 2016, Zambota continued to lead the Mayo faction of the Sinaloa cartel, which was responsible for trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, which killed thousands and thousands of our citizens in the United States. And in 2024, the FBI and our partners here were able to arrest Zambota, which has led to this guilty plea today. Let me be clear. The guilty plea is not the end of this fight. The Sinaloa cartel may think that they're powerful and mighty, but rest assured, we are all up here because we have one goal in mind, and that is the destruction of the Sinaloa cartel. Now, I want the communities to know, not even the most senior leaders of this cartel and others can escape accountability. Let this be a message to all violent criminals and members of the cartels that the FBI, DEA, HSI, and DOJ will leverage everything we have, all of our resources and all of our expertise to bring these individuals to justice and safeguard our communities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Attorney General. Thank you for your leadership and your support. I'm Jason Redding-Quiñones, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. For more than 3 decades, Ismael El Mayo Zambota Garcia commanded one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. Under his direction, the Sinaloa cartel used vast resources to bribe officials, intimidate rivals, torture their enemies, and murder witnesses, all to push poison in our community that ends today. With his guilty plea, Ed Mile now faces a mandatory life sentence in federal prison. He will never again lead a cartel that fueled addiction, spread violence, and tore apart families on both sides of our border. Let me be clear to anyone who thinks they will take his place. We will find you. We will extradite you. We will prosecute you, and we will bring you to justice. I stand here shoulder to shoulder with our law enforcement partners, and I'm humbled by their extraordinary work. For years, agents and prosecutors quietly built this case, piece by piece, fact by fact, not for glory, but for justice. For justice for the thousands of victims left in the wake of El Mayo's reign of terror. Because of their courage, we are here today. I commend each of them. I especially recognize my Assistant United States Attorneys, Andrea Goldberg and Monique Botero, for their relentless pursuit of justice. It's now my honor to introduce the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Simmons. I am the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas. I want to thank you, General Bondi, for your support. Thank President Trump as well for his support in this case and many other cases like it that we will continue to bring. They provided the resources and, again, the support that was needed to make a day like today happen. Ismael Zambada Garcia, in partnership with El Chapo Guzman, led the Sinaloa cartel for decades. In so doing, they brought millions of kilos of drugs into the United States. In so doing, they also imprisoned millions of Americans within the gray walls of addiction, millions of their own countrymen within the gray walls of violence and fear. Now, he will spend the rest of his life behind walls of stone and steel. The Western District of Texas was especially affected by the activities of the Sinaloa cartel. You see, Juarez and El Paso are connected. Thousands of people every day cross through the various points of entries that connect the two cities and the two countries. Thousands used to cross illegally every day between the two countries. That's not happening so much anymore. Juarez affects El Paso. And so in 2008, when the Sinaloa cartel started fighting with the Juarez cartel to take control of that area, 10,000 people were killed on the Mexican side. U.S. citizens, at least one U.S. citizen, was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. And stray gunfire being fired in Juarez came across to El Paso. So those things that were going on, that were the product of the Sinaloa cartel's desire to take over that area, directly affected people of the Western District and in El Paso in particular. So in April 2012, AUSAs in El Paso brought charges against El Mayo, Chapo, and 22 other members of the Sinaloa cartel. I want to take a moment to personally thank AUSA Tony Franco and AUSA Kyle Myers for their work on this case. One of those charges that he pled guilty to today was part of that indictment, part of that 2012 indictment. So this really has come full circle for us in the Western District of Texas as well. But really today's not about the Western District of Texas. It's not about the Eastern District of New York, the Southern District of Florida, or any other district. It's about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people delivering on a promise to eradicate Mexican drug cartels. That's what we're doing. And we're doing that so Americans can live freely, enjoy liberty, and pursue happiness. This is part of us delivering on that promise. And with that, I'll bring up Mr. Nocella once again.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming. That concludes our press announcement. There will be no further proceedings and there are no questions, but I ask that everybody please remain in your seats as our speakers exit the room. Thank you.
Nothing on the cartels or the work that the DEA did? We have questions about that. We'd like to talk to you about.
Thank you.
We can take you all have stayed here all afternoon. Would be glad to take a couple questions. Sure. Wait, let me get him in the back of the room first. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. So on that point, I know as you wrap up these cartels,
I'll take like 4 questions.
you're focused on, as well presumably, cash and assets that comes up with that. Here in New York City, the DA for years has uncovered people. Where do those efforts stand today as far as following the money and really kind of grabbing more of the people that facilitate?
Yeah, if you couldn't hear, you asked about following the money. Following the money is always part of any of these criminal cases. That's how we're able to track and find them. I mean, this guy Elmayo was living like a king, and now he's living like a criminal for the rest of his life. He was living in a palace, and now he's going to be in a prison. So following the money is how we solve these cases. Terry, do you want to add a couple words to that with DEA?
Absolutely. So thank you, Madam Attorney General. There is a large cash seizure associated with this forfeiture that we will get out here shortly. But more importantly, our work with the Mexican government is not done. Similar to what we did with RCQ that we brought to the United States, there are proceedings happening as we speak.
Hey, hang on. We'll just take a few questions. Sir, sitting right there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said the U.S. government should collaborate with Mexico to understand how the U.S. authorities bring El Mayo Zambada, because for them it's not clear yet. What's your answer on that request?
Well, first we want to thank the Mexican authorities for all of their help in bringing all of these cartel leaders to justice. We're not going to comment on any of the specifics of any investigation, but we have brought, under Donald Trump's direction, we have brought more cartel leaders to justice than any other administration in this nation's history. Any other questions? Go ahead, Alana.
Why take the death penalty off?
Yes. So Mexico, I've done this my entire career as a prosecutor. When dealing with Mexico, we cannot seek the death penalty. We've always known that, and that's an agreement that we've had with Mexico when we get them to our country. That includes many others. This guy's 78 years old, but he will live like he's on death row. I can tell you that. He will live in a prison cell the rest of his life. Yes, sir. One more.
Use the air bridge to come cocaine and drug to the United States. What about Honduras?
Yeah. He asked about the air bridge. Air bridge is a term that is common in law enforcement for how drug traffickers move their drugs from multiple countries, Venezuela, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, to our country. It's called an air bridge. And they pay off government officials, they pay people off, they pay off law enforcement officers in their countries to ignore that and to let them fly undetected. We're looking at all that. We're looking at that in multiple countries. Thank you all for being here, and thank you. Great question. Thank you.
Whatever.